Guys, what's up? Let's talk about it. I think we're just gonna coin that. So if you guys are seeing that in part of the title, awesome. If you haven't seen one of these, I like to dive into my phone and just kind of go over like my personal notes. So like my journal to myself, but more so on some things that like not necessarily like perfect, but just content with where the thought process is. But notes for myself with navigating family life, business, a lot of business stuff, and just where pivots have to happen and where I'm going with them and all that good stuff. This one actually came from Instagram. Really loved the question. The question was in the context of real estate, but it applies across the board. So if you're not in real estate, don't worry about it. This will definitely apply to you, right? So just to give you some context on the question, it was a Friday, and I was on my Instagram. We'll pop it up on the screen if you guys don't follow me on Instagram. Would love to have you guys give me a follow. Throw me a question if you guys have it. But the question came across from one of our agents. We've got a couple hundred agents that work for us now, and typically on Fridays on my Instagram, I just have fun. I reflect on my week and just kind of run like an after-action report as far as like what's working, what's not working, whatever's working, how can I triple down whatever's not working, how can I fix or mitigate it, or just get rid of it if the idea just needs to go away altogether as far as whatever I was trying to implement that week. And the question was, I asked everybody was, what are you struggling with? And how one of our agents respond to that. And he said that he struggles with having the faith that doing all of what we coach him to do, what we have him doing over a duration of time, like just having the faith that it's going to work out. As in, like, if he's following our procedure on YouTube and doing everything he's supposed to be doing, following our systems and processes, following our farming and marketing and everything else that we do within real estate, having the faith that if he does everything that we coach him on what to do, just having the faith that if he does all of that, that it will work out. And man, I thought it was a powerful question. It was very honest. I think a lot of us, at some point, I think we all, even for me, now, at our level, I go through it, and I'll explain that in a second, but my response was, hey man, am I not, right? And it sparked a slew of other questions, and the synopsis that I gave him, or I guess the end state that I gave him is what I'm gonna give you guys today. And because he asked me like how I did it. Hey man, well, how did you do it? I said, hey man, when I first started, right, and I was sleeping in this pantry. If you guys don't know my story, look back, find the story. But I was making decent money within entrepreneurship, helping a buddy build a fitness company. After military and police work, that's what I helped my buddy do. I was making decent money, was not good with money. So when I decided to venture off and do my own thing, I was sleeping in my buddy's mom's Y2K pantry. If you're too young to remember Y2K, look that up. And I had like $36 to my name. And he's like, hey man, back then, like, how did you have faith that it was all gonna work out? I said, man, I didn't have faith it was all gonna work out. I had faith that I was gonna work out. And he was like, fuck, appreciate that. I'm like, yeah, man, like, listen, when I was first doing real estate and I was diving into it, like, I understood a certain level of work ethic. I understood a certain level of proficiency, and I also understood a certain level of comprehension, as in knowing whether I've got the level of comprehension to understand real estate enough to apply it at a professional level someday. And I was measuring myself of like my progress and how well I was retaining the knowledge. And I was retaining it, and I understood it really well. So I knew like, hey man, I'm understanding this stuff. I'm executing it really well. Like, this feels natural to me, which means, hey, I might have a talent for understanding and executing real estate. So that was a great key indicator that something could be great. I had an understanding of a true work ethic and just really having your finger on the pulse of something and just knowing how hard to work and knowing where to make pivots. And obviously it all grew over time. But the bottom line was, I knew that if I apply myself 100%, and if I'm all in and I'm committed, not to your standard of even understanding what all in is, right? All in is subjective to everybody. So my interpretation from my experience in life of all in and what someone else's parameter for all in might be completely different. But from my true level of intent and ability to understand and execute all in, I knew if I did that, I gave myself in my brain 12 months. If I do that all out, no bullshit like I've done in life for 12 months, this is either going to be extremely successful for me, or I will meet someone or something within this industry that takes me to a different entity that then becomes successful. So if it wasn't for real estate being successful, could people have picked up on my leadership and influence, and could I have ended up being a coach at leadership or something that I fit within an industry? So maybe not doing transactions, but coaching teams and whatever on how to just maximize humans and just maximizing more of my leadership skill within an industry. That could have absolutely been a thing. I'm doing it now. It's just for myself. I coach for my own self. And it was just really eye-opening for him, and it's like, you guys gotta be very careful on putting a lot of faith into something that's external, something that's out of your control, versus just putting the expectation and the faith into yourself. If you guys have faith in yourself versus being reliant on like an industry being faithful, like, you can do anything you want. you're also holding yourself accountable, right? So if we're like, man, if I just have to have faith that if I'm doing all this stuff, it'll pan out in real estate. And it's like, when we're new and we're vulnerable, there could be a little bit of fear there. There could be a little bit of lack of confidence in there. And I feel like there's a slight exit there of like, it's real estate's fault versus my fault. I don't know if you guys are picking up what I'm putting down there, but the bottom line is, you are the brand, you are the business, you are the tool, right? Like, we've got to be super, super internal with understanding the skill sets, the knowledge, the work ethic, the ability. Like, if you guys correlate to my past, I had 16 years of that led to a successful first year all the way through 5 and 6 years in real estate. It wasn't like my first rodeo in something and I just worked out year one. It was 16 years at the highest level of things that then correlated to my first year in real estate, but not my first year in a lot of things that really contributed to real estate. If this is your first endeavor, if you don't come from military, police, or college, or professional sports, something that like might correlate into hard work, if this is your first experience, if you're younger getting into real estate, you've got to accept that challenge and just understand like your number one priority is just bruising your capacity for more and actually learn what hard work is. Most of us think that we do, but compared to who, right? But and then the other insight that I gave him was, hey man, half of the realtors out there don't even try, right? So if you apply yourself as hard as you can while learning a harder level of effort and a more proficient level of effort through us, and you're applying everything that we teach you, are you going to be successful in real estate? Yeah, man, probably, but that's not just because you're doing a great job. It's also because half of real estate, I don't even know if they're trying, right? So to an extent, we're big fish in a small pond per se. Once you get to the top 1%, a different ballgame, but just overall being successful, I think it's more than doable. But I don't want him focusing on that. I want him focusing on the Swiss Army knife that he's making himself into versus being reliant on the expectation of real estate working out when, hey man, it might not work out. And you know what? It not working out might be the best thing for you because you take your hard work and your self-awareness and your creativity into something else that absolutely crushes. And I'd hate for somebody to miss out on that opportunity because they were so stuck on forcing real estate or whatever they're in to work out, right? So for all of you that are out there, focus on your work ethic, focus on your self-awareness, focus on the effort, focus on your capacity for understanding more, focus on your relationships and leveling up and being around people that have already done more and can pour into you and have the intention and time and care to pour into you. And then just allow that recipe, man, allow those ingredients to marinate and just reflect back every so often on what it's turning into. But it's not something you should be thinking of over, every night. You should be thinking about the work and being a practitioner in the execution of all of these efforts, not whether it's going to pan out. Because if it doesn't, but you got great at the execution of all of these skill sets, they will apply to something else and you will be successful regardless of what it ends up being, right? But food for thought. I hope this guys helps you guys out on a little, what are we calling this, man? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it helps you guys out.